Amen. Good morning. We will call the January 7th, 2025 Commission meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners to order. Welcome to our citizens of Douglas County. County Clerk, could you please take the roll for the record?
Yes, ma'am. District 1 Commissioner Henry Mitchell.
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Whitney Kenner Jones.
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Martin Raxton.
Present.
District 4 Vice Chair Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Ramona Jackson Jones.
Present. Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Douglas County, we are pleased to have with us this morning Mr. Russell Tassone with us to lead us in our invocation. Please stand for the invocation, and after the invocation, please join us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Start off with a humble thanks to the board for allowing me to bring the opening prayer this morning for the meeting. Before the prayer, I want to read a couple verses of scripture from God's Word. In John 15, verses 5 and 8, Jesus himself says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. The one who remains in me and I in him produces much fruit, because you can do nothing without me. My Father is glorified by this, that you produce much fruit and prove to be my disciples." Let's pray. Lord, as we enter another calendar year of servant leadership here in Douglas County, I pray that we all show ourselves to be doers of your word and not just hearers. Fruit is brought about by action, which is why in the book of James, the scriptures say to be doers and not only hearers. I pray our actions show fruit, which is the fruit of the Spirit, and that is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Lord, I pray over this Board of Commissioners in strength and grace that they will continuously walk next to you and hear your guidance and do according to your guidance. Lord, I pray over the executive leadership for the county and ask that you give them peace and resolve in their spirits in the directions that they'll guide this ship. And Lord, I ask for those who don't know you that they do come to know you. And I thank you for all of your blessings and the sacrifice on the cross of your Son, Jesus Christ. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tassone, for coming in this morning and gracing us with the wonderful prayer over our entire county, so thank you. Board of Commissioners, I just want you to be reminded that we have 3 minutes to make remarks and 2 minutes for our rebuttal, and I will ask that our county clerk and our deputy county clerk keep us on task with the timing. Clerk, you have the floor regarding public comment.
We don't have any public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, Board of Commissioners, certainly, are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda? Are there any changes? Being none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Wait, hold on a minute. I think if we add this.
It's on the agenda.
Okay.
That's just the document.
Okay.
Okay. Being none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Board of Commissioners, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please prepare to cast your electronic votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Clerk. Board of Commissioners, next we have the approval of the agenda You have the minutes of the commission meeting December 17, 2024, the work session minutes of December 16, 2024, and the executive session minutes of December 16, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
We have
Second.
we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your electronic votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you so much, County Clerk. Board of Commissioners, this morning we have a public hearing, and also to the citizens of Douglas County, we have a public hearing for new beer, wine, and liquor license for Carosity Restaurant and Lounge. Allison Duncan is here to present.
All right, good morning. Thank you,
Good
Madam
morning.
Chair, Board of Commissioners. This is a request for a beer, wine, and liquor license for on-premises consumption. The applicant is Curiosity Restaurant and Lounge. The address is 411 Maxim Road in Austell, Georgia. This has been advertised and has met all of our minimum notice requirements. The public hearing is a requirement to give the community time to weigh in on the request. But otherwise, aside from the public hearing, they have satisfied all of the requirements for submitting the license, and staff does recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, we have any questions for our manager of planning and zoning, Allison Duncan? Okay. Being none, we will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this license? Do we have anyone here to speak for or against this license? Okay. We will now close the public hearing. Is there any questions, or are there any questions from the Board of Commissioners at this time? Okay, no questions. Do we have a motion to approve the new beer, wine, and liquor license for Carosity Restaurant and Lounge Board? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your electronic votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you so much. We will now move to our business items. We will now begin with our agenda items. Madam County Clerk, please begin with the business items.
Yes, ma'am. Number 5, we have a resolution to establish the charges for street lighting in each street light district to be collected by the tax commissioner. This was deferred from December 17th, 2024.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, certainly do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I have a motion to approve the resolution to establish the charges for street lights in each street light district to be collected by the tax commissioner with one modification to remove the language of, in section 3. I would ask that there be a period after 2025 ad valorem tax bills, period, and remove the language of to automatically renew without further action by the county on an annual basis for 1 year for a total lifetime agreement of 20 years. And I would ask that this, the duration of this resolution be through December 31st of 2025. And that's just for the purposes of us reviewing or evaluating if this is the structure we want to maintain going forward.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Please prepare to cast your electronic votes.
We'll need a hand vote, Chairman, since we had a modification. to-
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor, and all in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay, none opposed. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Okay. Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
We have number 6, a resolution terminating pension plan with Sharon Subadan. This was not attached to your packet, but you do have a hard copy on your desk.
Board of Commissioners, you have had an opportunity to read this resolution, and certainly this is an opportunity for us to pose some questions if we need, but I would like to, thank you so much, Madam Danielle. Thank
Good
you.
morning and Happy
Good
New
morning.
Year, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners and Administration. So this is a request to establish a resolution terminating the former county administrators. The agenda says pension plan, but it was not a pension plan. It is a defined contribution plan, which is the equivalent, the governmental equivalent to a 401K. So it's a 401A plan for the former county administrator.
Okay. Any questions, Board?
So,
Commissioner Kenny Jones, you have the floor.
Ms. Nichols, so you're saying, are you asking that we change the language so that it says defined contribution plan and not pension plan? Is that
No,
how-
so that's a great question. So let me just provide a level of clarification. With regards to the agenda indicates that it's a pension plan, but it was not a pension plan. The former county administrator, Ms. Subadan, was employed in the year of 2021, and she participated in the pension plan, and there was also an agreement in her contract for participation in a defined contribution plan, which is similar to a 401K, but the governmental version of that. So this is to terminate that plan since she's no longer employed with the county.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I yield back.
Okay. Any other questions, Board? Commissioner Raxton, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm sorry. So just for clarification, so what the resolution is to terminate the defined compensation or contribution plan and not the pension plan, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so as another overlay of clarification, this particular plan is with Mission Square, and the former county administrator was the only individual in that particular plan. So it is to terminate in totality that particular plan because we don't have any other employees that are participants in that plan.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Any other questions? Board?
Madam Chair, I just want to let the board know that the resolution is correct. It's just that the agenda item was wrong. And so your resolution could be approved this morning, and it will take care of what the intended action is, approving it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madam County Clerk. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You clarified. Thank you so much, Ms. Nichols. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve the resolution terminating the pension plan for Sharon Subadan? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of terminating this? It sounds like we already just cast your electronic votes. That helps even more when it's electronic.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Madam County Clerk,
Okay.
you have the floor.
Okay. Number 7, authorization to commence condemnation proceedings to acquire the required right-of-way and easements on Chapel Hill Road in connection with the Chapel Hill widening project to be funded by SPLOST 2016, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Okay. Certainly, Board of Commissioners, we've had an opportunity to just review this slightly, but we'd love for our Director Rana to come forth and just shed some light on it for us even more before we cast our votes.
Good morning, Board. Chapel Hill widening is a roadway widening project that required acquisition of about 48 parcels. In acquisition, we're merely acquiring the road frontage that allows us to have a bigger offset for edge of roadway pavement. Out of the 48 parcels, we have successfully acquired 40 parcels. These last remaining 8 parcels have some complexities that require this step to proceed with completion of right-of-way acquisition, and for that reason, we're requesting your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for our Director, our Managing Director, Rana? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Managing Director. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to authorize to commence condemnation proceedings to acquire those 8 properties, or not properties, the frontage I'm sorry, for the required right-of-way and easements on Chapel Hill Road with the,
So move.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
Number 8 is resolution for approval of Project Lighthouse's participation in the Douglas County Tax Incentive Plan and the memorandum of agreement regarding taxation for real and personal property leasehold interest, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. We have Chris Pumphrey.
Okay, thank you so much. You have the floor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners and Administration. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. It's been a while. Chris Pumphrey, Development Authority of Douglas County and Elevate Douglas. We are here to present Project Lighthouse with the recommendation of its participation in the tax incentives plan. What I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is just kind of walk through a presentation. Just kind of give you an overview of the project, a little bit of the history, background, and the case for why this project is important for the community. But also just want to recognize we have our Board Chair Mike Stevens, who is here with us, our attorney Joe Fowler, Breezy Straightens, our Vice President of Economic Development, and the team representing Project Lighthouse as well.
Welcome. Thank you.
So what you have before you is just a rendering of one of the facilities that would be located off of Factory Shoals Road, just west of Thornton Road, of that interchange at Factory Shoals and Thornton Road. The rendering design was really to take into consideration, you know, we've got a lot of beautiful landscape out here on the west side. This is right up against Sweetwater Creek State Park. So it kind of blends in with the nature, and as the trees grow up even more, most of what you'll see is that blending on the top layer of the facility as the trees begin to grow. But there's will be a number of these facilities that will be located along this corridor of Factory Shoals Road and Rock House Road. Just a little bit of background, just history of economic development here in the county. It really kind of kicked off with the development of the West Fork Business Park, which is right off of Thornton Road. As many of you know, Thornton Road has a tremendous amount of truck activity. The traffic counts on Thornton Road are equivalent to what you see on I-20. And so that was really like the boom of industrial development to take place in Douglas County back in '74. A huge logistics destination being off the interstate north of the airport, south of the Norfolk Southern Intermodal Yard. So logistics was a huge boom for Douglas County, coming off of Fulton Industrial as well. Also, during that time of the 1970s, you saw the expansion of I-20 that carried through to the Alabama line that enhanced economic activity out this way from a residential standpoint, commercial standpoint. And as we fast forward, you know, the oncoming of the regional mall being Arbor Place Mall here in the late 90s. And that really established Douglas County as a retail hub for all of West Georgia and to some extent really eastern Alabama, you know, coming in via access of I-20. In the early 2000s, we had our first data center development, which really was a secret, and that was Google. And they located right off of Aquila Way in a 300,000 square foot facility that's still there today, before they expanded into their larger campus, which you now see on Riverside Parkway. In the 2012 time period, we had a lot of division between the city and the county as it related to economic development. They felt that there was too much warehouse and distribution activity ongoing. And so what we had was private developers that were investing in the community so that they could attract more warehouse and distribution projects. And so we set up a path forward that we were going to try and change that trajectory to not just be warehouse and distribution focused. But when you have the world's largest search engine that sits right there in your community, there's an opportunity there to leverage that investment, and so that's where we began the recruitment of data centers. They basically were taking up the same footprint of a warehouse and distribution center, but fewer jobs, far less trucks on our roads, far less services that are required, for that as well, but higher paying jobs and significantly more tax revenue. And so that was a great opportunity for us to change the trajectory. To that point, a 500-acre business park that was purchased back in that time period to be a warehouse and distribution park is now a technology data center campus. There are a number of data centers that are within that park today: DC Blocks, Flexential, Aligned, and Microsoft, just to name who's all in that park today. And so what that did is it took a lot of the burden off of the roadways, for more truck activity on that Riverside Parkway. So it could have been a lot more, and I know we can do better, but it's a lot less than what it would have been had we just said, hey, do what you want to do, on that site. So that began our effort of the recruitment of data centers. In 2023, we updated our targeted sectors because we saw a lot of success in that standpoint. This industry is growing. It is essential now to the growth of our economy, and so the data center activity is continuing to grow not only in Douglas but around the country and around the world. And for the most part, we have removed our focus of the recruitment of data centers, but we understand that there are key opportunities that really make sense for the community, and that's when we want to lean in. So our targeted sector is updated to advanced manufacturing, professional technology services, life sciences and healthcare, and media and entertainment. And we've seen activity in all of those categories since then, and actually before that. So this is, when it comes to the projects that we do recruit here, not every project that we recruit is offered an incentive. And so this slide shows here are the number of companies, or the companies that are actually on a tax incentive plan today. Actually, one of them just finished their tax incentive plan at the end of 24, and a few more are finishing this year. And so we will hover around this number of 11 to 13 or so companies that are on a tax incentive plan. When you look at that as a percentage of the businesses in the county, that represents 0.0028% of the businesses in Douglas County are actually on a tax incentives plan. So not every company is on one, obviously. But then when it comes to the ones that we recruit, not all are offered one. And so from 2021 to today, we engage with 185 different companies. 9.7% of those were offered an incentive. We won 18 over that time period. 33% of the 18 were awarded a property tax incentive, which means 64.7% came into the county without a property tax incentive plan since 2021. So the landscape of data centers in the community, a lot of the top is just kind of a recap of what I just shared on the timeline. But one important piece was that we modified our tax incentives plan back in 2013 to focus more on quality versus quantity. Our prior plan, you could create 500 jobs that paid $8 an hour, and you got the same benefit as someone who, was, paying, higher wages but fewer jobs. And so we wanted to focus more on the attraction of quality over quantity. To that point, Douglas County has outpaced the state and the region in wage growth over the last 10 years. So the plan did what it was intended to do, was really to drive quality job growth in the community. But what we recognized is at a certain point, we needed to modify that plan. And so when we presented a project back in fall of 23, we indicated that we needed to make modifications to the plan so that we're seeing more benefit from the taxation side versus just the quality job side. And so we are in the process of working on what that plan needs to look like so that it's more beneficial. But when you look at the data center industry today, there's a notion that we are overrun with data centers in the county. There are 5 existing operational data centers in Douglas County today. There are 2 that are coming online this year, so that will bring us to 7. And those 2 that are coming online are not on a property tax incentive. There are 4 under construction today, and of those 4, I'm looking at this slide, right? Yes, those 4 would be on a property tax incentive plan, depending on what happens today. And then there are some proposed data centers that are looking mostly on the west side of the county, and they are not being presented with a property tax incentive. But there are a number that are looking on the west side of the county today. Whether they happen or not, we don't control that part. Most of that deals with rezonings and what have you. But if those go forward, then those would be added to it. If you add all these together, it would make 16 total across the entire county. So this brings us to Project Lighthouse. Project Lighthouse would incorporate 3 sites along Factory Shoals Road and Rock House Road. They are sites that are jointly developed with T5 and Stack, and then one which we call Rock House, which is developed by Project Lighthouse. There's a minimum commitment of investment of $10 billion over the 3 sites, with an average salary of $75,000, which is $20,000 above our county average wage. And then 252 committed jobs. So these are jobs that are employed by Project Lighthouse that work in these facilities on an ongoing basis. There will be additional jobs on site as well, but these are more contracted roles that are not part of their commitment, but there will be bodies, people working in the community as well, that will be able to spend in our community as well. If this goes through, this would represent Douglas County's largest investment ever, and will also be Douglas County's largest single taxpayer in the community too. Furthering this, we worked very closely with the company, worked very closely with Commissioner Kenner Jones as well, and really identifying opportunities to not just just have the company come here and talk about a property tax incentive plan, but really lean into how can we work with the company and be further engaged with the community, and really identify some of these things up front of what can be done from an upfront basis to really show good faith that they really are truly determined to be a community partner with us. So part of this, this is one of the sites that sits off of Rock House Road. This is a commitment of contributing 10 acres at no cost for the recruitment of other development to take place in the area. What is seen on this this rendering here, we worked with our engineering firm HRC to do some renderings, but not just renderings, but engineering to understand what can fit on the site. So everything you see there, yes, it's conceptual, but it's also engineered to say that all these things work with the setbacks from Rock House Road, with the setbacks from the stream that's on site. All those things are in place so that all these things could fit. Our focus is to do something that's a benefit to the community. So once this moves forward, this would be a kind of a community engagement effort to say what do we want to happen here, but also what makes market sense. So there's aspirational things and there's realistic aspect of it. But what you see here on the top left is what we call the Power Center, and that is something that we are working with West Georgia Technical College on, and that is creating a hub for education and enhancing skill sets. And that's not only that serves within this data center industry, but within the energy sector, within cybersecurity and other sectors, that we are bringing this and we are creating this hub for training here in the community. So that's a partnership with West Georgia Tech. The other things, there's a bike course that's on site. There's a brewery that's listed there. We have, what do you call those things? The food truck parking, sorry, I'm messing that up. But the food truck parking stage for amphitheater and things like that. But it's all about activities taking place in the area. But these aren't finalized, but what we would do is we would work with the community, work with the private sector. We'd have someone facilitate that effort just to make sure that we are doing something that makes sense, but being able to have the land at no cost, really kind of helps us in our recruitment efforts in that area. And then ultimately, if we determine that this site, isn't the most optimal site for some of these things, then we'll look at what is the most optimal site for it. But this is a great foundation for us to make those recruitments. Beyond that, workforce development is a huge component of their commitments to the community. And that's obviously, serving and specifically within this technology industry. For the company, there is a point of contact who is dedicated to working with us to ensure that we are providing all of the training opportunities and upskilling opportunities for our community. And we put in there that this is a priority for Douglas County residents. So this is a further commitment, of reaching down into the community to provide upskilling opportunities for folks for gainful employment, for economic mobility, but they are very committed to working with us on this effort. And then from there, another effort we work very closely with, and once again, with Commissioner Kenner Jones, kind of helping in making these commitments for the Think Big space, the Think Big Circle, the Girls Tech Series. This would be a strong partnership with the Douglas County School System and West Georgia Technical College to make all this come together. The Think Big space is a really great opportunity that we see here for the community, where we're identifying the actual location, but it will be a location where every student from Douglas County can be able to come there. The company itself will be responsible for the build out of the space and operations of the space, but we'll be identifying what space that actually makes sense in supporting all of the schools here in Douglas County. We really want to make sure that we are building up a technically savvy workforce here in our community, and we're grateful for partners like this to help us do that. So from there, it comes to what you all are here to approve, and that is for the property tax incentive plan. And as I mentioned, back in 2013, we created a plan with then Tax Commissioner Todd Cowan. That was something that it was a point system based on jobs, investment, and average wage. And it was a more aggressive plan than what we had in the past, but like I said, it was focused more on quality of the jobs versus the actual size of the investment or what have you. But with the investments, it kind of gets a bit distorted, so the investments may start to outrank the job growth. And so in the acknowledgement that we needed to make modifications to our plan, we wanted to be able to present something that was, competitive from a standpoint of a recruitment of Project Lighthouse to the community, but also beneficial from the community standpoint, so that it didn't feel like we were just, not being able to receive taxes, on this. So our standard 10-year formula would have deferred taxes for a number of years and would have had an estimation of taxes over a 5-year period of roughly $11 million, that's in the bottom portion. And as I'm sure you've all seen already, in the top portion, over the 5 years for the plan that we have presented, which is a 15-year plan, one on real estate and one on personal property, it would generate $38 million over the first 5 years of the plan. Estimated $38 million over the first 5 years of the plan, and then over the total incentive period, $382 million into the community. And so this becomes a significant opportunity for us as a community to not only, heal some of the challenges that we face from a financial standpoint, but also look at how we can reinvest those dollars back into the community. And so it's the reason why we do economic development, is to grow the tax base in the community, and this is a great opportunity to do that. And so that sums up my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or if I need to go into any further specifics about the plan itself, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pumphrey. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions at this time? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. County Clerk, I'll just call the motion. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve the resolution for the approval of the Project Lighthouse participation in the Douglas County Tax Incentive Plan and the Memorandum of Agreement regarding taxation for real and personal property leasehold interest, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the resolution as drafted.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have a couple of things.
Yes, Commissioner Kenner Jones, you have the floor.
I just want to start by saying thank you to our Economic Development Authority and AWS. And we actually do have one of AWS's representatives here in the room. And so I do want to just acknowledge Becky. I have had several phone calls, several meetings. I'm sure she has been ready to pull her hair out. And so, but I want to point out or make it clear that this is what commitment to community actually looks like. I don't think it's been a secret to anybody. I've been furious about this project. I was not excited about it, didn't want another data center in my district, and I can admit I was wrong. I will never be a person that cannot say, you know, I didn't have all the facts, I didn't have all of the information, and I appreciate the patience that you all exhibited in helping us understand what this really means. Above and beyond just understanding what the deal looked like for you all, though, you did exhibit a commitment to making sure that you all fit into our community in the most appropriate way possible. They sent people out to drive around into the district, and I said, I hate this building, I like this building, go match it. And they exhibited a commitment to doing that. They were very clear, even if this did not pass or did not go through, that they would stick and hold true to things that they had already promised and committed to the community. They came and participated in the orchard planting at Boundary Waters and was one of the sponsors in that event. They had several meetings with New Manchester Elementary School and replaced the basketball courts and the playground equipment just to make sure that our community is starting to be reflective of where we are moving and shifting. I want the members of the community to recognize that you all are providing education that will make our residents prepared for 21st century employment and workforce opportunity and make them recession resilient, providing jobs that people can be proud of. You have increased our average, or will be increasing with these 252 committed jobs, our average median salary by $20,000 a year. That's game changing in most people's lives. And there's not been other companies that have showed that level of restructuring and commitment to actually meeting the community members where they were. You guys did not come and tell us what you think we should have. You asked, what do we want? What do we want to see, and how does that work for our community? And they're going to get this with that. To the residents of the Parkside community, I also appreciate you all for putting together an actual engineered plan that solves so many issues. It is resolving a food desert issue that we have in that area. You are giving them an amenity that will help raise their property values. We cannot undo what has already been done by the amount of warehouses, data centers, and substations that are around their community, but at least they have something that they can drive by at night and be proud of, somewhere that they can take their children, somewhere that they can go on a picnic, something that matches the majesty of Sweetwater Creek Park, and it's going to nestle so nicely in that area, so that we can start to attract other higher-end businesses. This is going to be game-changing for the entire county, and so I really do want to say thank you. Thank you for not pulling your hair out and not arguing and fighting me and just listening. So I do really appreciate y'all's commitment. So thank you. Madam Chair, I yield back.
All right. Thank you so much, Commissioner Kenna Jones. Any other remarks,
Yes,
Board?
yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Mitchell, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. And I won't go into that long dissertation, but thank you. And I ditto the same sentiments of Becky and Chris to your team and Breezy. Job well done and sticking with it. I know it was a long journey. I know it didn't look promising, but I think in the end, just explaining kind of truly what it really is versus what we thought, this board thought what it was. So I appreciate you guys' efforts in assuring that we knew exactly what this is, what this tax incentive did, and what we could expect from this company. And like I said, Becky, I know we've had conversations, and I appreciate your thoughtness and your patience. and doing all of this. But Chris, again, to you and your team, I mean, job well done, and not giving up on the project. See, that's the biggest key, is not giving up on it. I know you and I and Breezy have had many conversations of trying to continue to explain and acknowledge truly what this really is versus what some of us thought it was. So at the end of the day, job well done, keep up the great work, and look forward to some other future projects, and let's just kind of, move this along and get this done. So again, thank you guys again. All right, and I yield back, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell. Any other remarks, board? We have a motion and a second on the floor. We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your electronic votes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, we have a 4-1 vote, and the motion carries. And congratulations. Thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
Number 9, we have election of Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners.
All right, where do we start? Board, certainly we are tab number 9, election of Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners. Do we have a motion from anyone on the floor?
I think with a nomination, I would.
A nomination,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Well, I'll start with myself. Just make it easy.
Could you
Yes,
repeat what you're saying?
Oh, I said I nominate myself. I'll start and make it easy
Okay,
with the nomination, I guess.
okay, we have a nomination on the floor. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I think it's appropriate to see if, just open the floor for nominations and
Yeah.
take
Okay.
as many nominations as may come.
Okay.
And then you'll close the floor for nominations, and then you'll call for a motion.
Right.
And then whoever makes a motion can move to a point, and then they'll fill in a name based on the nominations that were provided, and whatever name gets the majority vote would be the vice chair for the next 2 years. So that would be 2025 and 2026, based on the resolution that was passed, I guess that was sometime late last year.
Okay, we have any other nominations?
Madam Chair, I'll nominate Commissioner District 4, Mark Alcaraz.
Okay. We have any other nominations? I would nominate myself, but I'm the chair, right? Okay, any other nominations? Okay, we have that. So, Madam County Attorney, you said with those.
So
two-
you'll close the floor for
I'm
nominations?
closing the floor now for nominations. We have 2 nominations. All right,
And then just call for a motion.
okay. Do we have a motion? Okay.
I guess this is more for county attorney. So based on the resolution that I'm aware of back in 2024, the vice chair position was made to go through the end of 2026. Are we currently under that particular adoption of that resolution?
So 2 things. Number 1, I think the conversation or discussion is appropriate once there's a motion and a second, and then that will allow for discussion. Based on Robert's rules, we go into discussion once a motion is on the floor, but I certainly can answer that question.
Okay, because I think right now, we're about to go to a vote.
Correct.
No, we need a motion.
So you'll go to a motion, a second, discussion. I'll answer your question.
Okay.
And whatever other questions that may come up, and then you'll go to a vote.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
So you can make a motion for the basis of discussion, right? You can make a motion. If it gets a second, then we'll discuss, then
Okay.
it can be discussed.
I'd like to make a motion that we have further discussion in regards to the vice chairman position at this time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? If there's not, all please, if you want to discuss, engage in discussion, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote. The motion carries. We have 0 opposition. So you have the floor, Commissioner Raxton.
Okay, so going back to the question, based on I believe it was the March 2024 meeting of the Board of Commissioners, in that meeting, there was the appointment for the vice chair that not only extended through December 31st, 2024, but all the way through December 31st, 2026. Is that not the case? I just want to confirm if that's the case, and if so, why are we at this point now where we're taking this motion?
Thank you, sir. So couple of issues. Number one, it's my understanding that at the time of that vote, because there was a vacation of one of the seats that was held by the vice chair at the time, the vote was to appoint Commissioner Alcaraz as vice chair for the unexpired term of the vacated commissioner. The vote did not include a motion or the language to extend that to his own 2-year term, which would have extended him until, and I'm sorry to speak as if you're not here, Commissioner Alcaraz, but which would have extended the service of vice chair to 2026. So while the agenda item read one thing, the verbal motion, second, and vote was for something else. Then you guys passed a resolution last year that kind of undid all of that. And so your resolution that you passed provided that you would vote on a vice chair at the end of 2024 at your last meeting to serve beginning January 1st, 2025 for 2 years. So you voted and it passed unanimously without discussion. And so you did not vote on your vice chair at your last meeting in December. In fact, I think the vote was to defer or table, it likely was to defer. And so it's coming back up now. And so now is the opportunity to follow the last in time resolution, which was to appoint a vice chair for 2025 and 2026.
Okay. So maybe as a follow-on, at this time then, are we saying that the vice chair position is currently vacant?
Yes, however, it's never a clear answer, right? Most service in a board chair, vice chair positions, whether it's a planning commission or board of appeals, usually it requires the person to serve until their successor is appointed. While that language likely did not appear in the resolution that predated the one that was approved in December, that's kind of an understanding. But please understand, the vice chair is a created role, if you will, for which this board recognizes, which is fine. But there isn't any language existing in your creation documents that gives us some guidance as to how that works. So the guidance came from resolutions, and the resolution at play right now is the one that you approved in December of last year.
Okay.
Or November.
Okay. So I guess maybe the next question is there a timing or a sense of urgency to get this resolved and to have this vote today, based on what you've said as far as not having those procedures outlined and in place?
I don't think I can answer that. I think that's a decision of this board. If you guys feel you need a vice chair to serve in the absence of the chair, then there would be some urgency. That's a decision you guys have to make as to whether or not you want to continue with having the service of a vice chair. But please understand, your last in time resolution recognized that you would have one, and you should have had one January 1st, right? Had you followed the resolution that you approved. But it was deferred, and so you are rightly to consider that now so you can stay in compliance with the resolution that this board passed.
Okay. Madam Chair, I yield the floor back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kenneth Jones, you have the floor.
I guess this question is for Attorney Wiggins as well. Does our charter require us to have a vice chair at all?
So that was my comment earlier, was that is a position that this board recognizes, but your originating documents, such as your charter, do not provide guidance on a vice chair position.
And so if we were to default back to that, then am I correct in my understanding that then in the chairwoman's absence for any meeting or where she wanted someone to be in her stead, she would just appoint that person for the purpose of that particularized meeting or event, whatever it is, and we would not have a vice chair designated person?
You could default to that, but then you're now creating a rule, right? You're creating, just like vice chair is being created, you're creating now an alternate rule on the chair's authority to appoint someone in her absence.
I think I'm asking how it's written in the charter. The way that it currently reads to me is that if she's absent, she would appoint someone for that particular absence, and then if it was an emergency and she could not appoint somebody in her absence, then we would, a majority of the remainder of us would vote who would call that meeting to order at that time. I just want to make sure I'm reading that language properly.
Give me 1 second. I will pull that language so we know exactly what it says. While I'm looking for it, if there's another question, I can answer that in the interim.
I would have no other questions, and I yield back to Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Kenneth Jones. Any other discussion, board? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Mitchell, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'll just add, though, while Attorney Wiggins is looking for that.
Thank you.
Just to add, if by chance this board decides to move on a different direction of a vice chair or not, which is okay, and need that time to discuss that, I think that's okay. However, if we've already created a resolution or legislation or whatever you want to call it that states this is kind of how the vice chair role has been, if we want to make that type of a change of excluding this from our charter or our resolution, then I think this board needs to kind of take a pause, take a look, and decide on if we want Madam Chair to be the chair to decide on who would be that fill-in, which is okay. But I don't think we can just arbitrarily decide today if we will, it's based on the charter that you're reading 6 months, 6 years, or 30 years ago as to what that would look like. So whatever you kind of find, I think we'll still be at the same juncture of whatever was passed, whatever we came up with, whatever the legislation or the resolution that we came up with, let's use December. It's kind of where we are at the moment. Am I incorrect in that statement?
So the charter will override any resolution, so.
Okay.
And I am looking at the charter that is on the county's website, and it does
So if
not
I'm hearing you
appear-
correctly, the charter will override any resolution that has been enacted in the last 6 months, 6 years, or whatever, in this whole.
Yeah, the charter will always be the supreme document
got you.
for the county.
But there's the thing called amendments that you kind of amend and change and change.
Right.
So you can't, if I'm hearing you correctly, and I'm not an attorney, I just play one at the county. No, I'm just kidding. But if I'm hearing you correctly, the charter will supersede anything that you've done in the last 5 new resolutions or amendments or whatever.
Unless you do a charter amendment.
Right, but that's just not the process. I don't think anybody goes back and change the charter. They amend whatever that is that they're making a change to. Now, whatever that is, I'm using this as an example, the vice chair. You kind of make the amendment changes as you go through the process. Because if you're going back to now the charter, which was created 30 years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago, whatever that number is. You have your computer? So, now, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, but there are steps that, if I'm hearing correctly, that's been done here. And that is, it's been amended several times. But if we got to go back to the charter, then that's going to be a conflict on probably everything we've done here in years past. So, but I'll see and defer back to what you find.
So there's a way to change your governing documents, obviously, as you
I
said.
would agree, yes.
And so,
That means you'll amend the charter, yes, not amend what you amended and you amended, if that makes sense.
I think I'm following
Yeah,
you.
yeah. See, what I'm getting at, if the charter was stated 30 years ago, but we've made 10 amendments, and the 10th amendment is where we are, you can't go back and say, at least I don't think so, you can't go back to the charter and say, this is the Bible, so we can't, the amendments all go away, we go back to the beginning. Don't quite agree with that, but I'm not the legal guy, but it just, that part of it don't make sense. However, if this board so chooses to say, let's take another look at this and pause on that, I think we have that right to do that. And then look at the charter, and then look at what we want to resolve this as. Yes, but I can't say we go back to the charter as the starting point after 10 amendments. And I'm using 10 as a magical number, not saying that that's the number.
I get what you're saying.
Okay. Because if that's the case.
Attorney Lewis went to go and get those documents because
Right.
they're not accessible online, so.
So that's
She'll
all
be
I'm
back
saying. It's just,
shortly.
that part of it wouldn't make sense, at least, maybe it doesn't make sense to me, but this board may have, all the thoughts put together as to why that is, so. But I just can't see you going back to the first charter side of this conversation after having 10 amendments.
What I would say to you, though, is hopefully, though, that every change or, amendment you've done,
It amends the charter as to what that is.
well, but what I'm saying is that you would start with the charter
Yes,
to
I would
ensure.
agree. I would agree.
Yeah,
That is always the starting point.
Yeah.
I would agree. I'm only saying we're 10 strokes down. How do you go back to the beginning unless you go from the 10th, now the 11th part of the resolution or the amendment, and you reference, we're going back to the beginning of the charter and make that statement and change the charter? Yes. Not, but Oh, and I guess I'll yield. I'm
You're
good.
back?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you so much. Commissioner Kenneth Jones, you have the floor.
So Commissioner Mitchell's questions actually raised an additional question for me. And so am I tracking, are we looking for a resolution, Attorney Wiggins, that says we have modified the charter to permit there to be a vice chair role? Or because that was not done, the resolutions kind of were for naught? Like we could say we're going to do away with all of these resolutions right now?
No, we're looking for the creation of the vice chair position in the first place? Because I think that was your question originally.
Correct.
Is that a position that the charter recognizes?
Right.
And when we're talking about the charter, we're really talking about the local laws of the county, right?
Right.
You know, cities use the word charter, but for us, it's our local laws, which is why they're not easily accessible, because they go back
100 years.
really, really far.
150.
And so, so that's what we're looking for, right? And so my assumption is that, you know, prior to me and probably my predecessor and whoever before then, they would have, the resolutions that would have followed would have referenced the charter provision of the vice chair position in the first place, right?
And so I did pull all of the various versions of the resolutions, and each one only prescribed the mechanism to vote or get a vice chair, but never the actual creation of a vice chair position. There's no reference in any of the documents that says we are amending our charter to establish a vice chair position.
So there are places like in the UDC that recognizes that a vice chair serves in the absence of the chair.
Right.
So at some point, right, some board must have done something to say that that's a position here. And it makes sense to have it, right? So how we got there is one thing, but it makes sense that if it's the will of this board, is to continue to recognize the position of the vice chair, because it's an important role.
Yeah.
So wait, we just got the book here.
While you're brazing through the book or looking through the book, I would just like to add, prior to me coming into office, the chair could choose or select who they wanted as their vice chair. And certainly I'm a different type of leader, and certainly don't mind rotating the position, and think that would be amenable to the entire board to give everyone a shot at being vice chair. And certainly you all can continue to draft resolutions or whatever is important, but to keep things balanced and equal, I don't want to spend 4 years discussing a position that is only symbolic. So we can, whatever you all want to do, but I believe that if you rotate it, it'll allow everyone to serve and have an opportunity. And that's what other counties have done. County attorney, I've researched and looked, and it's just all other counties just allow that position to be rotated, which is fair. There you go, District 3.
All right. So given the level of discussion and conversation, to me, I would think that maybe we take a pause and have some time to really do a thorough research, go through the charter, go through the resolutions, and then come back with a recommendation on the vice chair. And if this position, should we continue to pursue it as elected from the board, or has been in past practice appointed by the chair, and bring that comprehensive information back to the board for us to consider in totality. Because right now I'm hearing that, it looks like, we're going to need to do some research. So that
Yes.
would be my recommendation. I yield the floor back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Madam County Attorney,
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like to take a pause if this board so chooses and allows to do some more research, and again to allow, it places me in a very uncomfortable position because I love all my board members and I don't want anybody to think I'm picking and choosing. That's why I mentioned the rotation process. So if we could just, I would like to call a motion to allow us to pause.
Motion to start over before you got to go backwards.
Oh, boy.
Everybody take back their motion.
We don't have a motion.
No, the motion was approved, and it was to discuss.
Yeah, to discuss. So just to table it to our next meeting, to allow us to research perhaps more, look at other counties to see how they do it. And, since we like benchmarking, that's particularly what I want to do, is just benchmark. And my other colleagues who are chairs throughout the state of Georgia have said they rotated to keep peace. And it's just not fair to me to go back and forth, because like, again, I said, I have the same level of respect for all my commissioners, and it puts me in a very precarious situation when I got to pick and choose, and I said, you know what, let's just see if we could go with the rotation. I would like that, but that's just my opinion. And certainly if you all want to continue to go with the resolution, we can do that in the next meeting. Is that something we could just explore, board, to our next meeting? Give us time to go back and give you all time to consider. Is that something you're all amenable to? Okay. With that being said, County Clerk, I'm going to call a motion to table into 2 weeks until our next meeting. Okay. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion at this time to table the election of the Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners position? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. If you're in favor of tabling for 2 weeks, please indicate by raising your right hand. 2, 3 vote, the motion fails. Sounds like we're going to have to move forward. All right, do we have a motion to approve or elect the vice chair? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, oh, go ahead, Henry, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say.
You can go.
You just gotta, well, now you gotta actually say, you know, for Commissioner Mitchell, how many votes, and I'll let the attorney kind of.
Is that how I do it?
I think it's just a motion. Just call for a motion. Whatever the will of the board is, a commissioner will make a motion to appoint someone, or do something else, right? So,
Well, she first needs to get to who.
You have 2 nominees.
yes, you have 2
Right,
nominees.
2 nominees, and one got X amount of vote, other one got X amount of vote. At that point, then you say, we nominate X. to be
No.
the person.
No, so a commissioner would make a motion, right? I move to appoint, Jane Doe as the vice chair for 2025 and 2020, for the next 2 years. If it gets a second, then the Madam Chair will call for a vote, right? If it fails, then we need to take another motion. But if it passes, then that's who the vice chair would be.
That's okay route. But you already got 2 nominees on the floor. That's why I was taking it from, that 2 nominees on the floor. But at the end of the day, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Do we have a motion?
I have the same question now. I'm slightly confused.
Right.
So is the motion to vote for both of these people?
Correct.
Or are we calling a motion for one person?
My recommendation is that Madam Chair just asks for a motion and someone speaks up to insert a name in said motion.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion to appoint Commissioner Alcaraz as Vice Chair for 2025 and 2026.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have 3, 2, okay. And the motion carries.
So that's it.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
All right. I do have a comment.
Okay. Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
I had a comment.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so again, I think it is still in best practice to go ahead and have the, what was in the local law, so that we have that understanding moving forward, so we will, know how to proceed in the future. So I'm just gonna ask, and I'm gonna ask that, for the county attorney, any additional information you can share with us, be greatly appreciated. And if we need to amend the local law, that we would do that to ensure that we don't have to have this conversation in the future.
Thank you. I will.
All right, thank you. Madam Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Okay. And also, I just want to make it clear on what my vote was actually based on. If you look at our minutes from February 20th, 2024, which I was not in office at the time, it clearly stated, for tab number 5, Vice Chair election to fill the unexpired term of Vice Chair Carthen for the 2025-26 term. It clearly states, and it was not only that, it was for 2025 and through 26. So when you look back at our minutes and notes and things that happened in March, it's just hard to, you just have to be fair. So with that being said, Clerk, you have the floor for the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, point of order. Just for clarity, I get what you stated, but I think that was already corrected by legal, that was already superseded by the last December vote, correct, in reference to the vice chair. And that in 2022 or 23, whenever that happened, was clear that didn't actually happen. It was written that way, but it was only for an expired term from which the vice chair took office for. So, I mean, that's a great statement, but the facts are, based on what I just kind of heard from legal and what was actually done, is actually the facts. So, and I'll leave it there, and I'll yield at that point. But the vice chair has been voted on, and we're done. So, at least I am.
Madam Clerk, you have the floor. Thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell.
You're welcome.
Next is our consent agenda, so we'll just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your electronic votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have our announcements from our Communications Chief Officer, Yvette Jones. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, and County Administration. Pleased to stand before you with a few announcements this morning. Please join District 1 Commissioner Henry Mitchell III on Saturday, February 1st, 2025, for his first Coffee and Conversation of the year. Commissioner Mitchell is partnering with Emily Leitner of the Douglas County Cultural Arts Council for this endeavor. He will provide the coffee and you bring the conversation. He'll join in on that too, I'm sure. The event will be held at the Cultural Arts Council located at 8652 Campbellton Street in Douglasville. The time is from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. In collaboration with Keep Georgia Beautiful Foundation and local forestry partners, Keep Douglas County Beautiful will distribute tree saplings at our annual Martin Luther King Jr. tree giveaway on January 17, 2025, from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the Douglas County Courthouse. Available on a first-come, first-served basis, there will be 100 bald cypress and 100 white oak saplings. Citizens are encouraged to plant these trees as an act of service over the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. In recognition of Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, the Cobb and Douglas Public Health Department is offering free to low-cost cervical cancer screenings and pap smear tests. The screenings will be held at the Douglas Public Health Center on Selman Drive the week of January 21st through the 24th. All women who get a screening during this week will receive a free gift while supplies last. To schedule an appointment, visit cobbanddouglaspublichealth.com and navigate to the breast cervical cancer screening page, or you can call 770-514-2300. And Douglas County Senior Services is offering a new home modification and repair program. It is designed to assist older adults with improving the safety, accessibility, and livability of their homes. The program will assist with minor home maintenance, accessibility modifications, weatherization, and electrical and plumbing repairs. To learn more about the program and eligibility requirements, contact this number, 770-489-3100. And finally, want to learn more about the film industry? The Douglas County Office of Film and Entertainment, in partnership with the Georgia Arts Initiative, will host the second in a series of educational panels focused on film. The event will be held on Saturday, February 1st, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Lithia Springs Senior Center, located at 7301 Groovers Lake Road. The panel will feature several industry professionals providing behind-the-scenes insight and a deeper understanding of careers in film and entertainment. The event is free and open to the public. For more information, you can reach out to Constituent Services at douglascountyga.gov. And that completes the announcements for this morning. I yield back to you.
Thank you, Communications Chief Officer. Thank you for those wonderful, elaborate announcements. Board of Commissioners, do you have any other remarks that you would like to bring forth this time? If there was no other discussion or remarks at this time, this meeting is not adjourned, but we are going into recess until 6 p.m. for our 6 p.m. planning and zoning meeting. So we are now in recess.